Buenas tardes, buenos días. Digo, yo sé que muchos de ustedes nos escuchan camino a la sala de ventas, que a lo mejor están pues ahorita ya haciéndose sus metas para abril, para mayo, no es cierto, para abril, seguramente van a abrir esto en abril. Quiero comenzar diciendo que muchas gracias a toda la gente que se inscribió para el curso de técnicas de cierre. Es el más grande que hemos tenido. Hubo inscrita ya mucha gente de varias partes de la República Dominicana. Se inscribió una buena parte. Y eso está chingón, que esté creciendo la comunidad y que ya cada vez más gente pues esté motivándose a sí misma. Que si la empresa en donde trabajas no invierte en tu crecimiento, pues invierte tú en tu crecimiento. Y eso se me hace muy chingón, así que gracias a todos los que se inscribieron. Y por el otro lado, hace unos días que alguien me estaba preguntando que justamente cuando pagan los cursos para escuchar las capacitaciones y esto, como que no me concentro si estoy en mi casa, no me concentro si estoy rodeado de gente o en el trabajo porque me empiezan a hablar. Y pues me atreví a sugerirles un lugar en Cancún, si viven ustedes cerca de la avenida Guayacán, que se llama Delicat. El Delicat. Está buenísimo el lugar. Aquí les vamos a poner el nombre del lugar. Y incluso hasta hace poco que fuimos, nos ofrecieron a todos los suscriptores de Champaña, por favor, que si quieren ir ahí, con este código que les va a aparecer ahí, les hacen un descuento para que prueben las bebidas, la comida. Es un café que está muy, muy chingón. Privado, aire acondicionado, está súper bien ubicado. Para ponerte a estudiar, para llevarte tu laptop, hacer homework, home office, muy, muy recomendable. Entonces, si son ustedes suscriptores del podcast, basta con que lleguen con ese código QR y te puedes estar ahí las horas que tú quieras. Te tomas un cafecito, desayunas, comes, lo que quieras, pero muy, muy buen lugar como para estudiar. Y ahorita que sé que hay gente que está pasando por un slump y que a lo mejor la temporada no está como la estábamos esperando, pues es un buen lugar para que vayas y te des un ratito y ahí a lo mejor te pongas a estudiar, ¿no? Y a trabajar. Dicho eso, bienvenidos de nuevo al episodio. Les doy la bienvenida a ustedes y le doy la bienvenida a Dale Di Bartolomeo. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
First time here, hopefully not the last time you're going to be here.
Yes.
But I was looking forward for this episode because I know there's a lot of people who's going to be really interested in listen to your version of things, because it's very different working with someone. And you have been a teacher for lots and lots of people over these years.
Sure.
But then it's really different when you listen a casual conversation, not just like a meeting and, advice about a pitch and whatever. So
Correct.
Thank you very much for being here.
I appreciate it. I love it.
Just so you introduce yourself to people, let us know, well, a little bit about you, where you're from, how did you end up in this twisted timeshare world, and all of that stuff.
Interesting story, actually. A little bit. I'll keep it short as much as possible. Originally from Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
From East Cleveland, Ohio. Basically, we just. My parents were both immigrants. My mother's from Israel. My father's from Italy.
Okay.
Normal growing up, nothing major, right?
But you were born in Cleveland.
I was born in Cleveland.
Okay.
We were all, me and the sister and all that, we were all born in different places. My sister was actually born in Canada.
Okay.
So we don't like her. But no, I'm just kidding. We like her. Sorry, Canada. No, we like her. But yeah, so we were all kind of born in different places. We grew up in, just very inner city. I mean, we weren't in suburbs. We were very inner city. Mm. So we learned how to kind of fend for ourselves at a young age, which I think really helped me in the timeshare industry later on in life, right?
Okay.
Same story as everybody else. High school, did college. Out of college, I got a finance degree. Worked for Merrill Lynch, some investment banks around the way. Mm-hmm. Ended up in Mexico working at ICSE in Mexico City.
For ICSE Banco.
Before they started separating and getting bought out and all that stuff. Okay. Worked for them, did some investment accounts. Basically, at that time, I had a daughter with a girlfriend back then. Uh-huh. She turned 2. I wasn't seeing her, so I said, I'm out. Okay. So I decided that I was just going to see what was out available. Met a couple guys who were in timeshare over in Vallarta, and they said, "Hey, this is a great business. You get to start at $200,000 and sell something for $10,000. I said, well, it sounds like that's what I'm in.
Okay.
Right? And I wasn't really sure about timeshare. I didn't really want to do it. I heard all bad things about it.
Like everybody.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
So sales is sales, and that's what I was doing before in the finance. And it just kind of came natural to me. And
so was it like a trial just to see what happened, or you were actually
no, it was
committed to it?
Never committed.
Okay.
I was never committed.
Okay.
I like to believe that I'm still not, but 20 years later.
Right. Hey, same here. I said it was going to be a 6 months plan.
Right.
It's been 11 years. So.
Exactly, right.
Uh-huh.
So, no, I was never committed to it. I did it. I said, well, let me see. Vallarta's not bad. It's not going to be a bad place. There could be worse places for me to fail at something. Right? So.
And you were what, in your late 20s?
Yes. Yeah. 29.
Yeah, Vallarta is not a bad place to be in your early 30s.
No, at all.
No.
It was great. And met some great people along the way and stuff like that. Got involved. I actually started at Vedanta was the first place. Well,
I was going to ask.
It was actually Mayan Palace when I started.
Yeah.
And then it was Vida, then Vedanta, then Vida Vacations, then Vedanta again.
Yeah.
But
it keeps switching.
But yeah, so I started with Vedanta, actually. And then moved over to Vida Palmar.
Okay.
And then from there, I've been with them pretty much ever since, except for a short stay at Wyndham.
Okay, so it's been a while with the same company. So you've seen the growth.
Yes.
Exponentially.
I'm pretty much I've seen the growth. For me, that was super important. I mean, realistically, and it wasn't because back then Vida Palmar or in this case now Taffer was a big name. It wasn't. It was a small name back then. You know, it was a small name in a big boy club.
Okay.
Right? But in Vallarta, it was a big name.
Okay.
Right? There was Vedanta, there was Vida Palmar, and there was pretty much nothing else.
Yeah.
Right? Well, nothing else that was successful. But that, to me, was super important to lock down into a company that was growing. But it was more important to me, stability.
Okay.
You know, my whole life has been about stability because we didn't have a lot growing up. We didn't have that stability of we have food coming today, yay, you know. That literally that's what we grew up with, right?
Okay.
And so the stability that I was kind of looking for in my life as far as that goes kind of created itself in my place of work once I hit the timeshare industry. Okay. So
that's ironic because it's usually the other way around, right? It's like normally people who are in a stable job with income for sure, they usually say, no, you know what, I wouldn't change my salary to commissions because nothing is for sure. Correct. But in your case, it was the other way around. You were looking for stability and this gave it to you.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm all from the old adage. Like I said, my mother's from Israel, and so my mother's big push on us always was, if you're going to be successful, you have to do it half a step at a time. Okay. You can't just jump in and be successful tomorrow. I mean, it just doesn't happen. Overnight success is an illusion. It's a lie. It's an illusion. Exactly. It doesn't happen. So if you're willing to take a half step forward, then you're going to create success later on. So I believe you create your own stability, but you have to absolutely find yourself in the industry that allows stability, which is kind of weird because timeshare is kind of unstable. No, it's not. It's not stable unless you create that stability.
Exactly. I feel like it's I don't know, a never-ending pipeline of money running in full speed, but then you're able to catch as many bills as you want depending on how disciplined you are, how determined you are, because the money never stops flowing. No. Not even during the pandemic. There were people making tons of money during the pandemic. Right. Because they had the right pitch to the right way to call people or, create fear of missing out or whatever. But even during the pandemic, I had one of my coworkers making more money than never before. Absolutely. Because she was excellent calling people and creating, a sale from nothing with those that were locked down and had a lot of money because there were people like that.
Right. There was nothing they could do with it. Yeah. You might as well spend it on vacation in the future.
I mean, I remember I called one of my customers over 3 months, I think, 2 or 3 people picked up the phone, and actually I was able to make an appointment with them in a Zoom call and blah blah blah. But long story very very short, I remember this firefighter that I guess he was drunk when he picked up the phone call, and he's like, are you able to like go through a video call right now? Because that was the rule, it had to be a video call.
Sure.
She's like, yeah, sure. And when I see him on the computer, he's shirtless. He has a beer. He looks like shit. The wife's cooking in the back. There was so much noise. And I'm like...
I can relate to this guy.
It was my day-to-day, right? So, yeah, I think in 3 months I closed like 1 deal.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
Sure.
And she was closing once a week, twice a week.
No, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough in that stuff. But, I mean, you said something right that even in the pandemics that people can create money, right? And it wasn't, but that's always kind of been that way, right? I mean, back when I started, there was everything. We had the real estate crash, 2008. Before that, we had the swine flu, right? The swine flu, everybody blamed Mexico because of the swine flu.
The Mexican flu.
The Mexican swine flu.
Yeah.
It was horrible, right? Everybody shut down all the cities.
Yeah.
And every single time that happened, I noticed, me personally, because I came from the world of finance, that every single time there was some kind of world disaster and the world was panicking, I came out of it way better off than when I walked into it, because I guess financial training. I just realized that whatever goes down is going to come back up.
Yes.
It's always going to be that. But again, I was looking for that road to stability. So I know it never really scared me because of the world of finance, that I know when something dips, eventually it's going to recover and go back up. So those downtimes were actually times when I spent learning more, reading more about the news, investigating why are they saying that everybody's dying because of some pig in a farm in Mexico, right? What's going on? I need to read, I need to learn, I need to and get ready for the next uptick, right?
That's brilliant, because I think that's something that... a common mistake that especially those who don't like to read the news, they don't care about politics, that shit's boring, I don't read the newspaper, whatever. I get it if you don't want to. But then if your customer is freaking out over the stupidest thing, then you're going to freak out as well, because you're going to
always
believe their determination about, oh my God, the world's ending because there's tariffs now over scotch. Like, dude,
right?
Really?
And on top of it, there's what happens is now that the consumer of today, the potential customer of today, is now way more educated thanks to the internet than it was when I started. I mean, when I started, internet was like, oh, there's this cool new thing. It's called the internet, right? And we're like, it'll never work.
You don't have to buy porn no more. You can watch it,
right? And then you can log in and
computer.
You just get your AOL account, and in 20 minutes it'll log on. So exactly right. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah,
and. But now the potential consumer is way more educated, right? So because they're more educated, they present their argument on the table with a lot more credibility. And so the younger rep, the more, I don't want to say inexperienced, but the more naive rep, because they haven't had the life experience of someone in their 50s, now believes the credibility of the customer way faster. Because they're not doing their research. The generation isn't to talk bad about them, but the generation of the 20s to 30-year-olds right now, they spend a lot of time reading and Instagram and all that great stuff, but they're not learning about the common sense behind everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when you have a customer that presents a valid argument and they believe it and they throw it out there with all kinds of credibility, well, at least you feel the venom coming out of them with credibility. An inexperienced rep just believes it.
And sometimes even closers.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the fucked up part.
Yeah.
When you have somebody in a management position who doesn't have enough arguments to go over, I don't know, something as crazy as a war in Ukraine, which has been there for over 2-3 years. It has affected economy in some ways, but it's not like we're broke because of it, or people are going to stop traveling to Cancun because
Crimea,
it's added to Russia.
Right.
Americans are going to still be cold in January, and they're going to come down.
Of course. And the reality is, major world events like that, again, I'm not going to fall back on all my experience in the world or my belief system. But major events like that, I mean, I feel horrible that war is going on. I feel horrible that it's continuing. I believe there needs to be an exit ramp. I don't believe there's going to be an exit ramp that's going to be in agreement for both of them. Both of them are going to lose.
Yeah.
Right? Both of them are going to lose. But the winner of that war is everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality of it, we have a lot of people from the States and Canada that have Ukrainian or Russian background, but they're not, this sounds very rude, they're now not going there and visiting their homeland. They're not spending money to go there. They're not sending money in because they can't, right? So what do they do with it now? They travel.
They spoil themselves somehow.
Right. That's exactly what they do. We get more and more Ukrainian and Russian customers on a daily basis right now. And before, they weren't necessarily the ones that we wanted to talk to because they're a little bit stubborn. They're harder to convince. They're very, no, I save my money forever because the government takes me everything buried in my backyard. But now they've through COVID, they're more Americanized. They're more Canadianized.
Yes.
They're a little bit more in tune with the world.
And I think it's important to point out what we were discussing before we actually started recording, because I think it's important to be aware that over 20 years of experience, I mean, you have twice as much of experience that I have, and I have seen different presidents in the office in the US. I have seen 2 or 3 hurricanes in the Caribbean. I have seen 2 wars starting out of nowhere or restarting, right, when we were not expecting that, a pandemic. So people who were here for Vilma or, I don't know, Katrina in the US or fucking September 11, whatever. So every time there's chaos, it sounds like some people are waiting for it to be done to go back to normal and now, glow up again.
Correct.
And that's not real.
Well, no,
there's going to be something
never comes
new.
Back.
No, exactly.
Normal never comes back.
Chaos is normal.
Yeah, that it is. It is. The disasters.
Yeah.
The disasters. The chaos is normal. The disasters are normal. Change is normal.
I would actually say as part of my belief system, I think war is normal. Peace is abnormal because we're humans.
Yeah.
It's normal for a war to exist because it has been there forever. It's just a matter of where and how controlled it is. So shit doesn't just hit the fan.
Or how hidden it is. Exactly. I truly believe that probably in any given minute of any given day, there's wars and battles and conflicts going on that we know nothing. Exactly. We have no idea what's going on. We hear of the big ones.
Yeah.
The big ones hurt, right?
But there's like 3 wars happening in Africa as we speak, and nobody cares.
No.
At least not here.
No, because it doesn't hurt us or it doesn't give us any kind of potential hurt financially.
Exactly.
Right? But if there's some war I'm going to make this up. There isn't a war right now going on here, but
don't freak out.
Don't freak out, world. Right? But if there's a war breakout in Ghana between some tribe in Ghana against somebody in Nigeria, again, they're not fighting. Right? If there's some war there, does it affect me? No, but it affects my prices on sugar for damn sure because that's where the majority of the world's sugar is coming from.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just stuff that we need to be aware of. That world events always happen. And one thing I learned along the way is when, again, this is rude, but when one part of the world is suffering, another part of the world is prospering.
Oh yeah, there's always the money is going somewhere else.
There's a balance.
It doesn't just disappear magically because of war. It's going somewhere else.
Right. And so in our industry, what we have to do is we have to find out where that money is and where it's coming from or who's it going to or what type of people is it. I mean, realistically, we see lots of immigrants going to the States and Canada right now, and I'm not talking the whole political illegal immigrants. I'm talking about legal people going there, working, studying. Canada gets a ton of them. They have their doors wide open for it, right? And those people become successful in Canada, and come down to Cancun to get out of the cold, and they have brand new Canadian money that they want, that they're ready to spend. We have to figure out how to get it from them.
Okay.
I mean, it's a big circle in this world, but
Now,
I agree, chaos is the king.
Chaos seems to be normal.
It's the king.
Yeah.
It's the king.
As an American, when you speak to another American who's bitching about the political situation and Trump in the office and blah, 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 how are you handling it right now to take that away from the negotiation and make them real?
Okay, that's a good question. That's a really good question, actually. So I come from Ohio. So Ohio, and we talked a little bit about this before we started.
It's a swing state.
It's a swing state. My background history, and all of my friends right now are about to flip out. I grew up as a Democrat, right? Sorry, Chino. But I grew up
MAGA
as a
Chino.
But he also told me not to say fuck on your show. But
Please do.
Okay. All right. But I grew up as a Democrat. Like I said, my mother's from Israel. My father's from Italy. It's a family. We're a family of immigrants.
Yeah.
So we grew up very democratic.
Come a little bit closer to the mic.
Sorry.
There you go.
Sorry, I was rolling away. I was pulling the Mustafa. Right? Love you, Moose. But so we grew up in a family of immigrants, and because of that fact, our belief system has always been very central.
Okay.
And like we talked earlier, my belief system hasn't changed, but the line moved. And so as much as I've always been registered as, I could never run for a public office as a Republican because I was always registered as a Democrat, right? And so the line moved, and because the line moved, now my belief system falls strictly in the border of the Republicans, right? And it's not because my belief system changed. It, like I said,
because things evolve.
Yeah, it evolved or devolved. I don't know how you want to say it. It just depends on what side of the line you're on, right? So when I talk to people on the table, I mean, and I think you touched on this in your episode a little bit with Chino, what is that you kind of have to understand people where they're from, right? Certain parts of the world are always going to be more blue than red or purple or green or wherever they're going to be, wherever they fall in. But you kind of have to kind of not necessarily agree with them, but you have to be able to allow them to justify their positioning. Do you know what I mean? They have to be able to feel like their opinion about how horrible Trump is right now, and he's deporting immigrants because he's against the world, and he's putting tariffs off because he doesn't understand. He's a monster. He doesn't understand finance at all, right? And all these things, you have to allow them to justify their position in their belief system before you can counteract it. And when somebody tells me, you know, there's tariffs in the world, and the prices are going to go up, and it's going to be horrible, and the world's ending, and because Trump is Trump, and I hate him, right? You have to kind of take the approach of, yes, I agree, that's horrible stuff that's happening, but that's actually the reason why you should be investing in Mexico, because you don't want to live there anymore, right? You know, you want to get out of there. You need a break from Trump. You need a break from that society. So if they're against Trump, the best angle that you take is, you need a break, dude. You know, and same thing on the other side. If they're pro-Trump, you're like, oh yeah, but the Democrat sucks. You need a break, right?
And America's great again.
Right? America's great, so and you know what?
You're going to be rich,
right? And a lot of Democrats will tell us, you know, but they're deporting all these people, and we've made friends, and they've been deported. And I'm like, well, great. They probably got deported to Mexico, so why don't you come visit them? Buy a timeshare, dude.
Together,
right?
Here.
Exactly. Get a 2-bedroom. It sounds like you're going to need it. You know,
they're probably in Tijuana as we speak.
Absolutely.
Give them a call. Tell them to come to Cancun.
Yeah, tell them to meet you in Cabo. Everything will be great, right? So no, I mean the political playing field is always it's going to be a difficult one, right? It's always going to be difficult. People believe the same thing, vote the same way, have the same belief system, doesn't mean that they agree on everything, right? Yes. And so, I mean, I've seen 20 years of the business. I've seen good presidents, bad presidents, okay presidents, and the reality is whoever's in office has the potential to be a great leader and has the potential to be a horrible leader, right? You're
one decision away from being one or the other.
Absolutely,
right?
100%. And it doesn't matter about your party. Your party is, determines kind of what your belief system is. It's kind of what people expect from you, right? I'm a Republican. I'm all about red. I'm all about capitalism and building up the military and closing the borders and all this great stuff. And if I'm blue, I'm socialism. Let's do kumbaya around the campfire and hug everybody and give some people free money. We understand where people should stand. And they should be, and that's kind of why you vote for them, but it doesn't mean that's what they're going to do.
True.
Right? So I believe that everybody has the potential to be a great leader. I believe everybody has the potential to be a horrible leader. Right?
So as in timeshare.
Especially in timeshare.
Right.
I've caught myself, because I've run multiple places and been in different situations, whether it was frontline members and now kind of in charge of everything at the property.
Yeah.
And I mean, I sit back at myself and say, okay, am I being the leader that I would want to follow, or am I fucking this up?
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes you look at yourself and you have some introspect, and you're like, okay, I'm fucking this up. I need to change this up.
But and that's a great subject to talk about. I wanted to explore a little bit more about it, because like you said, you've run different rooms in different companies, and you've been in different destinations, not just Cancun and whatever, and you've seen so many changes happening. And I think there's a word about that to like try to encapsulate all these things, which is patience.
Correct.
And I think there's a lot of people in this industry right now losing it for obvious reasons, right? Because there has been like a lot of changes happening rapidly, political and weather, and then war here, and freaking COVID, and fucking narco trafficant, and whatever. So what happens, or how do you see patience being a push for your career, or how important it is to be patient about all these mayhem happening around us in timeshare all the time?
My personal opinion, it's essential. It's essential. My mom always brought us up with the belief of straight from your Bible, our Torah, this too shall pass. And I believe that 100%. No matter what happens, this too shall pass. Yeah. I mean, and that one line is all about patience.
Yeah.
That's all it is. We know that there's storms. We know that there's chaos. We know that there's political unrest. We know that there's war. We know that right now, 80% of the people who are on any sales line in not only Cancun but anywhere in the world right now, if they're listening to this and not listening to this, they're thinking to themselves, yeah, dude, but I don't have any money to pay my rent. How patient can I be? Well, you have to be patient, because if you jump ship and you go somewhere else, you're starting over. Why would you throw all your work and time that you put into something just to decide just because you got anxious? Patience is everything.
You made me remember a guy there was some random video I was watching on YouTube once, and there was this Buddhist monk talking about anxiety and the way to make decisions when you're calm. It's way easier, right, when you take a breath and when you meditate a little bit about it. But he was talking about calm and patience, and I remember this. So it sounds stupid, but he's like, okay, think about the worst thing happening in your life right now, whatever has you under a lot of stress, the reason why you're not sleeping well, or why you're so tired, because you're thinking about it all the time. So okay, now that you have that in mind, can you change it? Yes. Then why are you worried?
Right.
Okay. No. Then why are you worried?
Exactly.
You can't change it anyways.
No.
So bitching about it and being frustrated and, insulting people and being aggressive and road rage, what is that going to change?
Yeah. No, I agree. I've seen so many people that in this industry, well, worldwide actually, in studying and traveling and stuff like that, but specifically in this industry, I've seen so many people who have more potential to be amazing than I've ever had in my entire life, that don't have the patience to wait to become amazing.
I totally agree.
They just, you know what? I can't wait anymore. You know what? This isn't for me. I need to switch it up. And you can, and it hurts. It physically hurts me when I see that from a rep that I think has this potential, because I'm just like, man, you're so close and you're about to throw it away.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can't get through to them. I mean, sometimes you can, and those people become superstars in the industry. But it's never overnight. Like my mother has always said, success is half a step away. You have to do half a step at a time, and then the next one is another half step, because it's not going to be overnight, and it sucks, and it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And the best way that you're ever going to become successful is to take half a step forward and then get knocked backwards 3 steps, and then you take half a step forward again, and it feels like you're never going to get there.
Yeah.
But eventually you're able to avoid those things that are creating you to be impatient. You get that, okay, I get it now I messed up, now I'm planning my life a little bit better. Now I've set aside money. Now I don't have to worry about rent in the low season, because I figured it out over the last 5 years that I can't live like that, and and I don't, because
Maybe I can make a little change.
I mean, the reality is in timeshare, it's our culture is make money, spend money. It's not save, it's not invest, it's not that. One of the things that I always try to teach young reps, I always try to bring it in, is I believe that there's 4 major things that a leader in this industry should be bringing to the table. Because what do we do? Literally, we try to teach people how to break a pack, do a front end, close a deal, right? I mean, that's it. And I got this from Mustafa, and he said it to me one day, and it stuck with me. And there's 4 things that I believe that as leaders in this industry we have to do. Number 1, we have to teach people how to be financially responsible.
A fucking man.
Number 1, as a leader, we have to teach you to be financially responsible, whether that's investing or saving or whatever that plan may be. 2, we need to, as leaders, we need to educate our people. We don't need to train them how to sell. We need to train them how to educate themselves.
Okay.
Right? They have to be willing to learn about
Train you
the
to train
world.
yourself.
Yeah. They have to be willing to learn the world. 3, I believe that we have to give back to the community. 100%. We're in Cancun, dude, and how much does Cancun give us?
Yeah.
But what are we giving back to Cancun?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. Ask yourself, if you're listening to this episode, and regardless if you had a great month or not, when was the last time that you gave something back to the community? When you, I don't know, helped a project, a home, or somebody who rescued dogs, whatever.
Yeah.
When was the last time that you actually helped because you wanted to, not because they asked you in the middle of the street?
Right, exactly. And we used to go in back in Vallarta. It was one of my keys for the team, is that once a month, and I'd love to establish it here, but I'm failing on this, and this is something I need to fix internally. But I used to set it up that once a month we would go to an orphanage. Once a month we would go talk to the old folks home, because they'd have all the stories in the world and no one visits them anymore.
Yeah.
Or we'd go to the dog place and help them wash dogs, or we'd help somebody who can't afford to paint their house. Or we would do something, because I believe that giving back to the community is just going to come back to you tenfold.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
And then the last, I think, tenet that I believe that we should all be doing, obviously, as leaders, is we need to teach people how to be good reps. Obviously, we need to teach them how to sell, be successful, the tricks of and trades of learning sales, not selling timeshare, learning sales. And so if we take these 4 things together as leaders, we're not creating good reps, we're creating good people. And if we can create good people in this industry, my world of make-believe and in my brain believes that someday people will be like, wow, timeshare people, they're great people.
Yeah.
They're great people. They help the community. They help people grow. They're educated. They're financially responsible. Instead of the image of es un desmadre, drugs, coke, I mean, they're always drunk. They're shoving coke up their nose at work and stuff, which happens, let's be honest, right?
But you don't want to be the same, I don't know, karma as a sleazy car salesman.
Exactly. And I don't want to bring that culture to, I mean, my son right now is 15. You know, he wants to be a professional soccer player.
Okay.
He's not going to make it. I love him to death, but he's not going to make it. I mean, maybe for Tijuana. I mean, maybe. Right?
For Cancun FC.
No, I'm concerned, right? I'm concerned, right? He's not going to make it, right? And hopefully he wants to be educated. Hopefully he wants to go to school and get a career and grow and stuff like that. My dream for him isn't timeshare. But if that ends up being his path, I want to leave him an industry that he can be a good person in. That's really kind of my goal here. I've been in the industry for 20 years, and I try, and my belief system is I want to create good people, right? And that's kind of, I guess, maybe that comes from my mom. I don't know.
But I mean, I really admire that from your work ethics, because it's not common. It's pretty common to have the kind of boss that only worries about the numbers. How much money are we making, and that my friends are okay.
Yeah.
And the ones who are not, well, whatever, we can just replace them.
We'll get new ones.
Yeah. So it's easy to replace a rep. It's easy to replace a closer. So there's always a chance.
Right.
But you see these kind of, I think you see it so many times online, the difference between a boss and a leader and all that stuff. But I think leadership, in reality, it's really necessary, like real leadership, because I don't know in your case, but when I started 11 years ago, I remember there were, let's say, 20 choices to work at, maybe 20 sales rooms all over the Mayan Riviera.
Right.
Now there's only 20 in Costa Mujeres.
Correct.
It's so much window of opportunity.
Right.
And these companies needing managers and closers and directors and PDs all the time. But then if you want to create a new culture, then you that are listening to this, you can bitch about bad leadership as much as you want, or you can start creating your best version of it, who's going to be you.
Exactly.
But then if that's your goal, and we actually talked about this in the meeting today, the goal should be a goal, but then what you should enjoy is the process to get there. Not put your happiness into the goal. Let's say that somebody who's listening to these wants to be a room manager, right? They want to manage a group of 50 people at some point, maybe people who have worked for you or whatever. And they're like, I want to be in Dell's position in 10 years time, 5 years time, whatever. Okay.
In 10 minutes.
So you're going to be happy until that happens.
Exactly.
And then what about the rest of the time in the middle?
And they gotta love the process, though. You have to love the process.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks to fail. It sucks to not sell. It sucks to be a liner or front to back when you. I mean, I went through it. I'm sure you've gone through it too. We've all gone through it. Anybody who's been
slumps.
Not even just slumps, but that slumps. But we can say we don't get a deal, and it's easy to blame the closer. How can this guy be a closer? I do a better job than him, right? Yeah. I mean, literally.
If I was the closer,
right.
I would have blah, blah, blah.
If I was running this room, I would never allow that to happen until you're running the room, and you have to allow it to happen. You
totally do that, yeah.
You have to let things happen because nothing's perfect in this world. And we don't understand that nothing's perfect in this world until you're in a position that you have to control, right? And so it all comes back to what we were just talking about was patience. And patience as a leader, you have to have more patience than anything, because we've all had the leaders that get mad and scream and throw a chair and throw a phone. That was me. But right.
Wait a second.
Right. Self-reflection, right. But we've all had those leaders do that, right? We've all had the leaders do it, and it's okay for that to happen sometimes, but not all the time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We still need that leader in the industry to be patient with us, because we don't all learn the same way. We don't all learn in the same pace. And I've seen superstars come from kids that didn't understand anything for 6 months, and it's frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, like, how can you not understand what I'm telling you? But sometimes, in my case, because I speak very horrible Spanish, right? I understand pretty much anything, but I can say it with a gringo accent, like from Gringolandia, right? And so it's hard for me to communicate in Spanish sometimes. And one of the things that I've struggled with in this industry is teaching kids that Spanish is their first language, English is their second language, and we can't quite communicate the same way.
Yeah.
So I like to surround myself with people like Chino, who can communicate with me and communicate with a ton of different people.
Okay.
Right. So I think
a translator.
Yeah, a translator of normal day, right? A normal day. And so patience in a rep in the industry is just as important as patience in a leader.
Absolutely.
Because if your leader's not patient, your rep's not going to be patient. They're going to learn to not be patient, right? And we're raising children. I mean, a new rep is like your child. You have to raise them and nurture them.
When you think about it, you spend so many hours at work that you start like mirroring, reactions and just like personality. So whatever the boss does, usually rolls down.
I've said stories about my life on tables because people ask, and I'm very open. I don't hold anything back, right? I don't believe that I should. I believe that if I expect people to purchase or to trust me, I need to trust them with my information, right?
Absolutely.
And so I'll tell stories on the table, and I'll run into a rep that heard that story on the table. I'll go to his table at a different sales room or something like that, and I'll hear him telling my story like it was his, and I'm just like, wow, we're quite similar, but it goes back to that, you start becoming the person who leads your room.
Yes.
It is what it is. And you either learn good habits or bad habits from them along the way.
Now, there's a couple of questions that I want to ask you. You can answer in any, no specific order. But before I forget, these two questions have been in the back of my head since we agreed on doing the podcast and
no worries.
Whatever. So the first one would be, how do you motivate a closer or someone who's experienced when you see that person is in a slump or they're just not performing, something's happening? Because we always talk about motivating the sales reps and the new ones and the young ones, but then what if you've been in the business for 15, 20 years and you see someone lacking results, someone who's usually performing, right?
Right.
What would you do and how do you motivate those people? And the second question would be, if you feel or if you believe that timeshare careers have an expiration date for some people, like is there a time when someone should say, you know what, I should try something different because this is it?
Okay. Let's start with the second question first, okay? Because I believe it's the harder of the two, and I'm always very much like, do the hardest thing first. Again, my mother.
Right? It's like customers, let's just get this out of the way.
Yeah, let's just give you my 90 minutes and I'm out, right? So I guess is there an expiration date on sales reps? I guess it would depend on it's obviously going to depend on the rep, right? But it's not necessarily going to depend on their personality as much as I believe that the expiration date is set internally for them on what they're actually wanting to accomplish and how far they're willing to go to accomplish it.
Okay.
I believe that is really the guideline on how long that somebody is viable in the industry.
Okay.
Not that they're successful, because you can be successful for forever, just moderately successful, consistent. I make money, great, but are you now a viable asset to my company?
Okay.
Do you follow me?
I see. Yeah.
Right, because to me, a viable asset to the company is someone who's growing and advancing, not someone who's just maintaining and being consistent.
Yeah.
To me, that's somebody who's complacent, and not that I don't appreciate that. I love it. We all need those reps. We all need consistency, right? But those aren't the people that turn into monsters. They're not the superstars. They're consistent. But they're also the people who always feel left behind, right? So I guess, lack of better way of saying it, a shelf life of a rep, I guess I don't think it's as long anymore as it used to be. I believe that, going back to patience, I don't believe that the new class of generations that we have will have the patience to wait it out.
Because we live in a world where even social media went from 2-3 minute videos to 30 seconds, 5 seconds, 2 seconds.
Right.
So everything is rapid, everything is like automatic, so there's no patience to watch a fucking movie for 2 hours.
Right.
You should just watch it in small pieces in TikTok, because watching it in one go sounds crazy now. Right. So if you translate that to careers, and the reason why I'm asking you this is because I think, if we're 100% realistic about the industry that we're in, for example, my dad retired when he was 70 something after 40 years doing the same thing, right? Because he was passionate about his work and workaholic, whatever. So once he definitely retired, I think his paycheck is 80% of what he used to make on the last 10 years, whatever, something like that, right? That's not going to happen to us.
No.
Timeshare doesn't work that way.
No, you have to be prepared for it.
So we are going to retire whenever we want to retire, right? And if you're listening to this and you've been in the industry for a year and then you want to retire, it's fair. But if you want to be here for 50 years, that's fair too.
Right.
But nobody's going to make that decision for you, because government does when you're working for a company and you have a regular job.
Exactly.
Whenever you turn 60 something, they're going to tell you, thank you for the ride, but you can't work here no more. You have to retire.
Right.
No one's going to say that in timeshare.
No, and like I said, I believe that I believe that people here in the timeshare industry, as long as they're feeling that they're valued.
Yeah.
As long as they're feeling that they're valued, whether it's by their leaders, by their coworkers, or even by themselves or their family, saying, wow, you know what, you're doing such a great job, Aldo. Wow, we really support the fact that you're working so hard for our family. As long as somebody feels valued, they're going to continue down that path.
Yes.
That the moment that somebody doesn't feel valued, they could be the leader of a company, and if they feel like the company doesn't value their time, they're going to end their career and retire. I'm done. I'm done with this. Who are you? How come you don't value all the work that I did for you?
Yes.
And that's what happens in the industry. I believe that actually kind of ties into your first question about how do you get people out of a slump. You have to care about them. You can't just be like, oh yeah, get out of it, dude. Suck it up. Next tour.
Walk it off, bitch.
Yeah, who cares? You know what? You broke a finger, walk it off.
Up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There's no crying in timeshare. Which there's not. But well, there is. Just it's hidden, right?
It's not publicly,
and it's usually the sales directors, right. But no, I believe that when somebody's in a slump, when your top people are in a slump, it's because something's happening. And it doesn't mean that it's because it's happening in their work life. It could be something that's happening in their personal life.
I think 90% of the times when a superstar is in a slump, it's personal.
Absolutely, 100%. There's something out there. There's that leftover baggage from this morning fight, or a concern because I have somebody in my family who's feeling sick, or I need to pay these bills, and I spent them in the casino and I shouldn't have done that, and they have this weight on them. And if they have this personal weight on them, it creates a slump. So the only way that you can actually talk people out of a slump is helping them personally, which goes back to the 4 tenets that I was talking about. How do I help somebody personally? Well, I create them to be a good person. And if I can't create them to be a good person, I have to kind of pull them out of that slump. And it's not because you feed them a good couple. It's not because you give them the best shot of the day, and I'm going to give you the best shot of the day so that you close, right? So I make it easy for you. If I'm in a slump and somebody tells you I'm going to give you the easiest couple of the day, and I don't sell it, I'm going to feel worse then tell me you're going to give me the Hindu
Yeah.
because I'm the only one who knows how to sell it.
Yeah.
Right? Boost my ego.
Because otherwise it feels like more pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't pressure somebody who's in a slump. You have to pull them out of it, or at least not even pull them out of it. You have to literally get in the slump with them, reach or hold on to them, and walk them out.
That's beautiful.
You have to.
You made me remember a therapist I interviewed before I had this podcast. I had another project, and I interviewed a therapist who said that when somebody is in a functional depression, the therapist's job is like when somebody is under severe depression is like they went into a cave and they don't want to come out.
Exactly.
Right? And usually people try to get them out with drugs or party or whatever, like, hey, just, man up and whatever. So, and she said, no, usually our job as therapists is just to sit right outside of the cave and say, hey, I'm here whenever you want to come out.
Absolutely.
Or if you want to invite me over and I can come in with you.
Yeah.
Just so you're, with somebody.
Absolutely. And I believe it's the same thing. You have to crawl into the slump or the cave with them.
Yeah.
If you see they're depressed over family, you need to go down there and you need to not talk them out of how you get through it, but you need to become an unwanted or unasked for mentor. You have to become that person that, whether you understand or not, is giving the perception of you understand where they're coming from, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. This too shall pass, right?
That's why I got that tattoo right
You
here.
actually have that?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Because I when I first heard that, actually it was due to these monk I told you about, because Buddhism establishes that attachment to things are the source of suffering. So when you are not expecting anything, when you learn to let go, you pretty much cannot suffer. That's
Right.
why they live the way they live. But even physical pain, they convince themselves this too shall pass, is temporary. Even suffering is temporary. Headaches are temporary. Slumps are temporary. So when you are up there and you're winning the month and you're making a lot of money, you remind yourself as well, this is temporary. It's not going to be there forever. I'm not going to be making this much money forever. So
Exactly.
that's why I got it in my right hand. So when I'm writing a contract or when I'm receiving money or a handshake, it's there
Absolutely.
to remind me this is temporary.
Yeah,
so,
of course. And everything is, And so, I guess to answer your question, or at least try to clarify a little bit, the closer or even the manager who's in a slump, or your top rep who all of a sudden just had a bad month, is like, and they feel like they're never going to sell again. We all go through the cliches of, don't worry, it's not your last sale. There's no way, you know how to do it. It's just, it's the wheel, it happens and stuff like that. But sometimes it's not about throwing some kind of cliche at them. It's grabbing them by the hand, telling them you love them, telling them I care about you, dude, and I'm here for you. No matter what you're going through, you can tell me about it, and I'm white slate. I'm not going to judge you through it, but help me walk you out of this hole that you're in. Help me walk you out. But tell me what you need me to do for you. When I have my team set goals at the end of every month, I literally tell them. I don't say set your goals. I don't want them to put, I'm going to write 200,000 this month and stuff like that. I don't tell them to set goals that way. I literally tell them, tell me what your commitment to the company is. And then in your goals, tell me what I need to do for you to get it.
okay.
Because it's a two-way street.
Absolutely.
My goal isn't to hit my budget. Sorry, Bobby. But my goal is to get my reps to hit their goal.
Yeah.
Because if they all hit their goal, I'm going to blow through my budget.
It's a dominoes effect.
Absolutely. Right? And so I've always tried to think a little bit outside of the box, right? Again, I'm going to go back to Mustafa. When we were talking, he learned how to talk to me. He would talk to me in baseball analogies. And everybody's big analogy is, well, you can't score if you can't get on base, right? My analogy is, you can't get on base if you can't hit the ball, right? And how do I hit the ball? Well, I have to know what pitch is coming. And what do I mean by pitch? I need to know what my Canadian's going to say to me. I need to say what my Canadian from Ontario is going to say to me compared to my Canadian from British Columbia.
That's why we were talking about this with Gene in the last episode. Like, okay, let's say that your customers from St. Louis. In all honesty, do you even know where Missouri is?
Yeah,
do you know what's around Missouri?
Kansas. And what's around Kansas? Nothing.
Like, what the hell do they do around there? Escape.
Yeah, they fish.
There's nothing to do. Like, it's too fucking cold. It's ugly. There's nothing to do.
You assume they fish, play the banjo, and
they're missing a tooth.
Yeah, they vote for Trump. I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah, so knowledge in that matter helps to create more ambitious goals, be more determined about things that you want to accomplish, not even just money related. And I think that's a subject that we usually forget about in this industry. Like, goals are easy to set when it comes to how much am I gonna sell, what my BPG is going to be, my closing percentage, my 0% cancellation rate, whatever. But what about how many hours am I gonna sleep a day? How much weight am I gonna lose this month? Or how many dogs am I going to rescue this year?
And, I mean, in reality, the things outside of your financial goals are the things that create your financial goals. You know, I want to make, whatever, I want to make 300,000 pesos this month, right? I want to make 300 pesos this month, but why? Just because I want to make them?
What for?
What am I doing with it? Why? Well, because I want this percentage of it to go to my investment account. I want this percentage to work for my retirement. I'm trying to pay off my house. I'm trying to do... And again, it all comes back to the 4 tenets that I believe 100%, that if you don't have this basis of who you are or who you want to be in the future, then how are you going to set a goal? How am I going to accomplish a goal if I don't know what I'm accomplishing it for? There's no reason. I mean, we have young kids in their 20s and 30s. They're like, I want to write $100,000 this month. Great, dude. Congratulations. How are you going to do that? I mean, what do you didn't do it last month, so what are you going to change this month to do it?
My goal is to go to Europe. How?
Right.
How much is the airfare?
Based on last month, you're swimming, dude. You know? But they don't know how to get there because they have the dream, but they don't know how to make the dream the reality. And unfortunately, as timeshare people go in this industry, it's very easy to have a dream and not know the path how to get there. You know, because I can say I want to be the president of the U.S. First off, I'd probably be the first timeshare guy ever to become one. But I mean, we have a convicted felon right now, so I mean,
public conferences will be morning meetings.
That's right.
Everybody,
everybody clap your hands. Right. Somebody put on some M&M. Let's do this. Right.
There's a spiff for whomever deports an illegal immigrant. Yay.
That's right. Anybody who votes for me gets $50. Oh wait, they did that here. Wasn't that the last election they did that for?
Okay. They do that every election in Mexico. That's the spiff for voters.
All right. So yeah, I mean, but the whole thing is, you know, everybody has dreams and everybody wants, whether they admit it or not, everyone wants to be successful.
Yes.
All right. But you get the people who are like, oh, I don't care. I don't care. Whatever. I don't care what happens. But that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody has a dream. Everybody wants to be, this sounds really rude, everybody wants to be somewhere else. They want to be somewhere else and someone else in the future. Great. Let me help you get there. But tell me what you need for me to do it.
And that appreciation to this industry helps to be more committed to it when you realize that, I mean, we all have learned so much from timeshare, regardless if you've been doing it for a year or 30 years. All these skill set that we've earned from timeshare helps when you go elsewhere, when you do something else. I actually asked on Instagram not so long ago, if you couldn't work in timeshare no more, what would you do? What kind of work would you pick? And a lot of people said selling cars, selling real estate, or
I don't even think I would have an answer for that.
Business owner. But it's gonna happen at some point,
of
right?
Course, yeah.
So I always tell people,
marry rich, I guess.
If there's no sugar daddy,
right,
then we have to do something.
That's
so
right.
What would that be? Once we are too old to work in this industry, or if you get sick, or timeshare disappears, or whatever, right? So these work, it's temporary, like any other line of work.
100%.
So the cool thing is that during your timeshare lifetime, you are able to do a lot of stuff that other people can't do.
Correct.
Like one of my good friends is in Indonesia as we speak.
That's
Her
awesome.
dream vacation was to go to Thailand and Bali, and a couple of hours ago I was watching her stories in Bali and, you know, eating great food, and that you can see her and her husband so happy going from one place to the other. And that's thanks to timeshare, because they both are in timeshare, right? So they are enjoying the spoils of determination and discipline and setting goals and blah blah blah.
The patience of it.
But it's not just like, you know, peaches and cream. There has been rough times for them.
Most of the times in timeshare is rough. Mm-hmm. You have to have the personality. You have to have the character of knowing that 80% of your career you're going to suffer. Mm-hmm. It's just the reality of it. It's the only there's again, I'm going back to sports. There's two things in this world that you can fail at 80% of the time and be a superstar: hitting a baseball and working in timeshare. If I have a 250 batting average, I'm a superstar.
Yeah.
Right, which means that I missed the ball 75% of the time.
Yeah.
Same thing here. If I miss the ball 80% of the time, I'm a superstar in this industry.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to be prepared to fail. And if you're not prepared to fail, then that's when people don't have the patience to dig out of a slump. They don't have the patience to say, okay, I want to do this. I see my friend making money. I see my friend buying a new car. I see my friends buying a new house. I want to do that too. But they don't realize that 80% of the last 10 years, 8 years, they fucked it up. They fucked it up. They made money. They lost money. They gambled it out. They did all that good stuff, whatever it is. And it's 20% of their career that made them successful. That's unfortunately, and people don't realize that coming in. It's a tough business. It's not easy. Well, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Totally. And I think one of the recommendations I would like to give to people who might be going through a rough month or a rough beginning of the year for all these political situations and war and different kinds of clientele coming to Mexico, blah blah blah. You know, like hikers and people that explore mountains and climbers and whatever, they use like ropes to guide themselves. Like as they're walking to the forest, they use this like different kind of rope that it's different color, so they know how to go back and find another way to find the right way. That's something that you can do in timeshare when you're having a great month. Write it down.
Yeah.
You know, take notes and like,
What
this
did you
was
do to get here?
an amazing month, and this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm feeling. Speak in first person to yourself. Like, this is what I did. I'm feeling this way. I'm so happy that I reached this goal. I cannot believe that I turned this table. The guy was a motherfucker and I turned it over. And when you tell that story to yourself and you leave it there and you're having a rough path, go back to it.
Absolutely.
Go back to it, read it again, over and over again, and remind yourself who you are, what you've accomplished. Because a failure is just a bruise. It's not a tattoo. It's not going to be there forever.
Right.
But like you said, dragging yourself out of a slump, it's harder and harder and harder if you don't talk about it.
Right.
First recognize it and then talk about it with someone.
Yeah.
Whomever.
And we can't be afraid to show our vulnerability. And dude, I'm struggling here. We have to be able to do it, from the liner to the director of sales.
Yes.
I mean, there's got to be a time. I mean, I call Moose every week, and I'm like, dude, this is what's going. What do you think?
Yeah.
Right? I've called Dallas a couple times. Dallas, this is what's going on. What do you suggest? I mean, so I'm talking to these people because I know that they have a trend. I know they have a history of being successful in the industry. And so who am I to say I know better? I don't know better. I may know different, but I don't necessarily know better.
Yeah, we're in the same boat, but it doesn't mean I'm the one who knows more than anybody else.
Exactly, because if we're in the same boat and I'm paddling this way and you're paddling the other way, we're not going to go anywhere.
Exactly.
We're just going to go around in a circle. And so, I mean, we have to dip into the people who have been the trailblazers for the industry for us, because they're the trailblazers not because they're always right, but because they went through it all, and they can give us really easy advice about, dude, you may want to avoid stepping on that rattlesnake because it's going to bite you, right? Like, oh, really? I thought that was chicken.
No shit.
I mean, but it's stuff that we do. It's sometimes that I watch people just do it. I feels like they're doing it deliberately to knock themselves off the path. And I don't think it is deliberate, but sometimes you look at them and say, wow, I mean, dude, really? We've had this conversation 12 times. You still don't understand it? Maybe I'm not explaining it right. You know? And so, like I said, you said it earlier, patience is everything, right? But patience has to be you have to have patience to allow yourself to learn what you need to learn along the way. Right? No one becomes a concert pianist by playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star because you watched it on YouTube.
Yes.
I mean, it's not going to happen. It's years and years and years of dedication. And timeshare is the same thing. It's an art form. There's nothing in this world gets sold like timeshare. Nothing. You can be great at sales and horrible at timeshare. Or you could be great at timeshare and horrible at sales. Right? It's its own animal, and we have to respect that. We have to respect that, and we have to be able to tap into the people who are going to be the future leaders to allow that animal to keep living.
Yes.
You know, when I started, I'm going to take us back, but when I started, probably around 2015, 2016 is when I moved over to Cancun from Vallarta. When I moved over, I literally thought to myself for a moment, it's like, I don't even know if I want to continue in this industry. I'm going to go over to Cancun, see what happens, I don't know if I really want to continue in this industry because, you know what? I think maybe timeshare's done. Maybe it's going to implode, right? I mean, realistically, these were my thought processes back then. Right? Maybe it's gonna done. Maybe there's not gonna be a big future. Eventually it's just not gonna happen for the industry. It's just people are gonna get sick of everything, and they're just gonna I'm not buying this crap anymore, right? And then the next generation comes in, and the next generation comes in, and the next generation comes in, and the people who are out of buying timeshare. Well, now the next generation has taken over, and they're like, "Oh, wait, what's this residence club thing?
Sounds cool.
This is great." Right? So as we evolve as people, the industry has evolved, and it's made it, in the long run, I think it's made it easier to sell now. Right? Things are more expensive. We all should be making more money. Developers cut commissions, right? Not you, Bobby.
Please don't.
Not ever. You never have. You're a great provider. But as the industry has evolved, I haven't seen a lot of older generation closers evolve. And that is where I believe, I'm answering your question finally, that's where I believe that slump is coming from.
Okay.
The unwillingness to adapt creates a slump. So again, as a leader, you have to get into the hole with them and say, let me help you adapt.
Yeah.
Let me help you grow. Let me help you take the next step so that I love your intelligence. I love all that experience. I love everything that you've learned. It's great. It's wonderful. It's going to work for me, but just not right now. Right? And they have to be able to, and it's the hardest thing in the world is somebody who's in their 50s to say, maybe I should be listening to this kid who's 30.
Yeah.
It's just pride and ego that stops us from growing.
Well, but pride and ego is the, day-to-day thing in timeshare as well. And usually that brings us to slumps.
That's what it creates slumps. Pride and ego creates slumps.
Yeah.
The moment my father used to tell me all the time that a shovel is the easiest way to bury yourself in your pride and your ego. And then my mom would say, your pride and your ego is a highly sharpened shovel.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're just going to keep digging that hole, digging that hole if you don't let it go. And eventually we just have to say, okay, let me take a look.
Okay, maybe this is not the right way.
Yeah, of course. But we're going to keep digging that hole until we do it.
That's why we wanted to talk about patience today, because I know that some of you guys out there might be struggling. It's been a rough beginning of 2025, but it doesn't dictate what the rest of the year or the rest of our career is going to look like. It's just adapting to, having a pitch for the situation that's going on and being able to adapt, to reinvent yourself.
Absolutely.
And create that reality that brought us to timeshare in the first place.
The patience especially, if we're going to put it into real terms right now, the end of last year, the beginning of this year up to this point has probably been one of the worst beginnings of a year that I've seen in the timeshare industry.
Yes.
Literally.
I agree.
Right? It's just everybody's not struggling financially, but they're not making what they're used to. We're not seeing the same customers. We're not seeing the same. We're not seeing the same amount of customers. We're not seeing the same quality of customers. We're just not. They're not coming yet. They will. Things calm down. Yeah. Whatever, we have a new president, whether that's a Republican, a Democrat, independent, whoever it is, there's always that first take over office 6 months of disaster, chaos, horrible. You have to wade through it. You have to pull your pants up, wade through this shit, and just realize that once you hit May and August, people are like, okay, the world didn't end.
Let's go.
Let's wait. I still have some extra money. The tariff didn't change my life. I can still buy the computer that I need for my kid.
Yeah.
Right? I'm still getting oil from Canada. It's just, the world doesn't stop. It doesn't end. But we can't panic just because we didn't start off the right way. And normally, the reality is, the world's very balanced. The universe is balanced. What happened, what goes up comes down. What goes left goes right. What's bad is good, and what's good is bad. I believe that 100%. The world is always going to balance itself off, right? So what I'm very excited for right now, believe it or not, is September and October. Because if January, February, and March has sucked, the end of this year is going to be amazing for me.
Yes.
I know it's going to, because it's going to turn around.
It's a pendulum effect.
It's always going to balance out. So what I would say to the people who are second guessing career in timeshare, maybe this isn't my thing. If you're just starting, dude, you just started at a bad time. You started at a bad time. So learn everything you can. You are going to be a superstar if you can figure out how to sell the people now. You're going to be a superstar because when it gets easier for you, you already have a world of experience.
You went through the roughest time. Yeah.
If you can start rough and then end up easy, it's beautiful. I wish I would have. I wish I would have. I wish it would have been harder for me when I started, but it was easy. I walked in. I knew how to sell. I got some good customers. I got sales right away because I knew how to talk to people over the phone from being in the stock market, right? So it was easy for me to talk. So this industry came easy for me. And as much as I love the company that I work for, right? I never liked this industry.
Okay.
I never did. I never said, and still to this day, I've never said timeshare is going to be my career. It's never.
It's my current job.
Yeah, I've never been. This is my career. I'm going to make a career out of this. I'm going to be the best that there is. But I think it's actually been part of my success to never just say, I sell timeshare. I guess I'll just settle. No, I've always just wanted more. I have a friend, Brian Kistner, and on his WhatsApp profile, it says I don't know exactly what it says, but it says something like, "Always grateful, never satisfied," or something like that. And I think that's such a profound statement, and it's really a great mantra for everybody's life. Right? I think it's awesome. You have to be grateful for everything. You have
Thankful
to be,
for what you have, but always wanting more. Yeah.
Not only that, but you have to be grateful for the rough shit that you went through. Because if it wasn't for the rough shit, you wouldn't know how to handle the rough shit so that you can be successful in the good time.
Yeah.
Everything you have to be grateful for. Everything you have to be thankful for. And this industry is a thankless industry.
Yes.
It really is, unfortunately, and it's from your boss your leader, and from your coworker. I mean, it's the only industry in the world that your best friend, when you get a sale, is just like, fuck. I mean,
admit it.
Yeah, your best friend gets pissed off.
Yes.
You know, the guy you hang out with all day gets pissed off because you got a $30,000 deal and he didn't get a sale that day. He's just like, you fucking asshole. Right? I mean,
I love you, but fuck you too.
Yeah. I mean, because it's like you said, it's an ego-driven business.
Yes.
It's an ego-driven business, but that's okay because we need those egos to become successful. You know, it's a rough go. So I don't know if this has helped you at all today.
I think people that listen to the episode are gonna they have a lot to take, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this with you, it's of course because as an American you also see, you know, with a different angle all these situation, but it's important to have the different perspective about things. And well, for those who listen to the podcast and the community that keeps growing and growing, thank you so much for being here. Thank you a lot for your time.
Anytime.
And for making. We're gonna have a second round, third round, talking about something different. Hopefully not about Trump.
Anytime.
Something else.
We never know.
Right.
It just depends on how many elections he decides to rig.
Hopefully this is the first episode out of many to talk to you.
I hope so.
But well, guys, a ustedes también, muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. Remember to use your code, el código que nos dieron para Delicat. Úsenlo y cuando vayan, recuérdenos porque pues está chingón tener esas colaboraciones. Queremos hacer cursos en vivo con ellos. El lugar está muy bueno, muy recomendable. Pero bueno, in the meantime, thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Cuídense mucho, nos vemos en el episodio que sigue y sigan vendiendo un chingo. Si necesitan capacitarse, contáctenos y ya saben que los cursos están ahí para que los puedan ver grabados. Y bueno, recuerden, como lo dijimos en este episodio, esto también pasará. This too shall pass.
Absolutely.
See you guys.